if you currently run a business or are in a business or you are starting a business at the beginning phase of a business, and you can already see the way you behave to the people behave, the employees within your business behave to each other, all of those things, don't assume that it will get better with time, because that culture will be transmitted from one generation to another. And trust me, it grows as it gets perpetuated. Your core values should not be on a poster somewhere in the office or on your website. Your values should be your compass, should guide you every single day. Every single action, every single transaction should be reflective of your values. Corporate culture is not something that you can overlook. 80% of employees will quit today if they have an option to a negative corporate culture that exists in the organizations they work for. So if the corporate culture of your organization is terrible, I can assure you, your employees are looking for another job. No matter how loyal they look or they seem to be, they are looking for another job, because everyone wants to be treated with respect, everyone wants to be treated with dignity, and everyone wants to work in a place where the environment is enabling. What defines and determines the appropriateness of the culture that you adopt and build is the strategy that you have adopted. No matter what kind of culture you're building, make sure that that culture strengthens an alignment to your business strategy. People can copy your technology, people can hire, poach your staff, people can do all manner, they can copy your strategy, but one thing that is very difficult to copy is your corporate culture. Hello and welcome to the November edition of the Business Leadership Masterclass. I'm so happy to have you on the broadcast today. And it's amazing that 10 months have come and gone, and we're in the 11th month of the year 2025. It's so exciting. I mean, December is coming, Christmas is coming, the holidays are coming, and before we know it, we're in 2026, a new year. So I'm excited, very excited. We started a journey this year in our company, and we've been talking to you about the various secrets to building a successful business, a business that would win in the market. And we've tagged this the Business Leadership Masterclass, and we've been talking to you every first of the month and just giving you nuggets and secrets to really make your business work and work effectively and efficiently. So today I'm not going to be doing anything very different. I'm going to be sharing another secret with you, a secret that would help your business succeed and do well. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the 6th step to winning in the market. We'll be talking about how to measure and improve business performance. Business performance is a very important thing. It's something that you always would hear. I mean, you read it in the papers, you have individuals have conversations about it. CEOs are held accountable, and responsible actually for their business performing better. And it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal in lots of quarters, right? And what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be exploring how to measure and, more importantly, improve business performance. Now, you remember that we started this conversation around winning in the market by defining and explaining to you that to win in the market means to make impact. It means to be profitable. It means to dominate. It means to lead, to shape the market. It means to maximize your potential as a business, and more importantly, to become all you were created to be as a business. I have in my mind, I can think about lots of businesses that today, when we hear their names, practically almost every human being on the face of the earth would know this business and would associate this business for superior performance. For example, I mentioned the name Coca-Cola, right? I mentioned the name Pepsi. I mentioned the name Apple. I mentioned the name Facebook. I mentioned the name Meta. I mentioned the name BlackRock. different organizations that are making impact. Microsoft, different organizations, Unilever, Amazon, Tesla, Toyota, Samsung. I mean, like the list can go on and on. These are organizations that have mastered the art of performing at an exceptional level, that they've become recognized globally today as organizations that are not only dominating, but they are leading, they are shaping the market, they are shaping and influencing the way we live, the way we communicate, the way we relate with one another. Imagine if, no airlines were started years back. We would not know that in about 6 hours thereabout, you can fly from Nigeria to the UK. You would never know, right? We would never know. Maybe you'll be driving to the UK today, or from the UK, you're driving to Nigeria or driving to South Africa. Well, maybe drive. I wanted to say driving to Australia, but of course, you can't drive to Australia. You'd have to use a boat or a ship or something, to move from any of our other continents to Australia, right? But with the infusion of technology in our world today, which is championed by several organizations, companies, solid airlines, we're able to make these trips very quickly. And is it communication you want to talk about? I mean, today, with the intervention of lots of telecommunications companies, so you can be in Timbuktu and pick up your phone and make a call to Japan. And someone in Japan who is hours either behind or ahead of you would pick up the call and have a conversation with you as though they were standing right in front of you. Thank God for technology. Thank God for the massive and the beautiful things that humanity has been able to do for itself, right? But all of those ideas are warehoused in a company and being championed by a particular entity. Now, you see, for that entity to run effectively, one of the things they would always have to do is to measure their performance and, more importantly, improve their performance. Okay? Now, so that's what we've defined as winning in the market, leading the market, dominating the market. We've also said there are three main things that are required if you want to win in the market. We said number one, it starts with strategic planning, right? Number two, it starts with strategic and strong execution. Okay, and then number three, which says maintaining a focus on customer needs. And in talking about execution, we began to talk about some 6 steps. All right, very important, some 6 steps. And we've coined those 6 steps in such a way that, from a particular month of this year, we began to deal with each of the steps. So step 1, we dealt with developing a winning strategy. Step 2, we dealt with creating an enabling structure. Step 3, we spoke about developing the right processes. Step 4, we spoke about building a winning team. And step 5, we spoke about, and this was in October, we spoke about creating an enabling corporate culture. This month, we're going to be talking about how to create the right performance measures and how to improve business performance. Okay. And of course, in the month of December, we'll round it all up by speaking about how to ensure we institutionalize continuous improvement in our businesses and our organizations, leveraging all of the things we had begun to talk about in the course of the year. Let's deal with today's focus: how to measure and improve business performance. Now, before we go into the nitty-gritty of this subject, I want to sort of define to us what business performance really means. What is business performance? I mean, and it means different things to people. When you talk to certain individuals, they'll tell you, oh, business performance is about making money, right? Some people will tell you business performance is about how well we're able to satisfy our customers. Some people will tell you business performance speaks specifically to how many customers we have, how well we're able to be known globally, around the world. People define business performance in different ways. But today, I would want to define business performance in a very, very simple, but I think powerful way. I would define business performance as a company's overall effectiveness and efficiency in achieving its goals. I'll say that again. Business performance for me speaks to a company's overall effectiveness and efficiency in achieving its goals. I'll let you think about that for a moment. A company's overall effectiveness and efficiency in achieving its goals. Three keywords would jump out to me from that definition. The first is the word effectiveness. That means business performance cannot be realized without a conversation around effectiveness. Number two, efficiency. And number three, goals. Those three words are sacrosanct and very important in an organization achieving and attaining solid performance. Anywhere you hear that a company is performing very well, or you hear a company is performing very poorly, the perspective to these three words is always the difference maker. How efficiently they're running, how effectively they're running, and their attention to goal setting. These three things are extremely important. Let's start with the first, effectiveness. Let's talk about effectiveness. What is effectiveness? Now, effectiveness is the degree to which a desired goal is achieved. And when you talk about effectiveness, you're talking about doing the right things, right? Doing the right things. Before I delve a little bit deeper into that, I would want to define efficiency. Because it helps us to understand effectiveness. On the other hand, efficiency measures the ability to achieve that goal, right? With minimal waste of time, resources, and efforts. So, efficiency speaks about how the resources that were used to achieve effectiveness was managed. And when you talk about efficiency, you're talking about doing things right. So let me explain. Now think about, someone wanting to climb a building, and the person wants to climb a building using a ladder, Now imagine that there are two buildings, building A and building B. And the goal was for this individual to climb building A. Now, what would effectiveness be? Effectiveness would mean that the ladder is placed on building A and not on building B. And efficiency is how well this individual leveraged the ladder to get to the top of building A. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Because sometimes, we discover that these individuals can be so efficient in managing resources only to discover that the ladder was leaning on building B and they wanted to climb building A. A company is established and they say, oh, we're a clothing business, all right? And you want to make a lot of money. And they are, pulling together all the resources to run an effective, clothing business, and every time they keep looking at the bottom line and discovering that they are falling short, right? And they are wondering why. But when you look at what exactly is in the heart of the founder of the business, you discover that even though the person says that they are in a clothing business, right? The person heart is actually in another business without the person knowing. Maybe the person is in the business of beauty making. That's what the person has invested a lot of time and effort into. Meanwhile, the person says they're in the clothing business. Now, when it's about efficiency, people can now mismanage resources even though they're in the right business. So without talking about effectiveness and efficiency, you cannot accurately measure and improve performance. So effectiveness, again, speaks to, ensuring that you are doing the right thing. Effectiveness speaks to a definition of your purpose as a business. That's why, when you come to individuals like us, or you come to our company, or you're talking to strategists anywhere in the world, they always will start out with, what's the vision of your business? What's the mission of your business? Why? We're trying to define for you what is the right thing for your business. Because without understanding the right thing for your business, you can never be effective in that business. You see what I mean? So that's effectiveness. While efficiency would then speak to how well you manage the resources that are available to you, how you manage the people that you have, how you the rate of how you manage your workforce, how you manage the time of your people, how you manage, the things that are made available to you to achieve your vision, your mission, your purpose. Okay? So all of that becomes extremely important. So to fully understand, to fully understand business performance, you must understand effectiveness and efficiency. And of course, I said the third thing is to understand goal setting, right? Very, very important. Defining a goal. What do you want to achieve? And remember, there's this very popular acronym around goal setting. It's called developing SMART goals. What do we mean? Goals that are specific, goals that are measurable, goals that are achievable, goals that are realistic, and goals that are time bound. And some people have even extended that thought further to say smarter, goals, and they are including another E and R where they are talking about resources, and they're speaking about the environment. Bottom line is that you must be able to define your goal. I like the way a man by the name Brian Tracy says it. He says, success is goals, all others is commentary. Meaning, you can never be successful if you do not have clearly defined goals, right? So yes, you have your vision, you have your mission, all of that is beautiful, but as a business, you must have goals. In 2025, for example, what was the financial goal you wanted to accomplish as a business? What results did you want to see as a business? How far did you want to grow this business? What nations did you want to reach? And when in 2025 did you want to reach those nations? It must be very clear. It must be achievable. It must be realistic, So all of that must be very, very extremely, extremely clear. Now, let's go to the next thought, right? When we talk about performance, and sometimes people talk about poor performance, people talk about peak performance, right? You must understand that it is impossible for peak performance to occur without high efficiency and high effectiveness. It's impossible. That means the goal of every business person listening to me, is to make sure that you're doing the right thing in your business, right? And you're managing the resources that are available to you in your business well, consistently. The resource you waste today can impact your results tomorrow. Are you hearing me? The resource you waste today can impact your performance tomorrow. For example, I usually tell people, you're starting out a business, your business is new, and the nature of your business is that you really go out to meet a lot of your customers. Why do you need to rent a massive 5-bedroom duplex as an office that nobody will come to except you? It's a waste of resources, right? It's a waste of resources. Make sure that every penny that your business makes, you use it to generate more money from that business. I think, and I think I must just say this, right? I think in our generation, right, in the world today, right, a lot of people that start businesses, they are not thinking long term. A lot of people are thinking very short term. They're thinking about making money now, and when they make the money now, enjoying all the money now, buy the latest Land Cruiser because your business can afford it. You buy the latest vehicle, go out on different vacations from your business money, not separating both, and then in the next 10 years, they are wondering why their business has not become global and has not achieved that vision that they have on the wall. Well, you're mismanaging resources. I tell you, you're mismanaging resources, and that's why your business won't grow. It's as simple as that. All right. Now, there are two very important performance metrics that we use to evaluate how successful an organization is, right? And so if you want to measure the performance of your organization, there are two metrics that you must pay attention to. Two, right? two very important metrics. The first are what we call financial measures. Financial measures. Financial measures speaks to the financial health of the organization. So here you're speaking about revenue, you're speaking about profit, you're speaking about cash flow, financial measures. They have to do with money, right? And that's important because if a business runs out of money, the business will soon die. That's just what happens, right? Even though people say, oh, the customers are important. I agree with you, but trust me, the customers are as important as the money they bring. Because think about it this way. If you have 10,000 customers and all those customers come to patronize you but do not pay you a dime, how rich are you as a company? You're poor. So financial measures are important. The second are non-financial measures. And this is also very powerful. What I discover is that a lot of times people ignore the non-financial measures and only focus on the financial measures. But you know what I've discovered? Great companies focus on both financial and non-financial measures. They focus on both of these components very doggedly. And that's why they continually become profitable, they continually remain successful, and they keep moving forward. Okay, so let's talk about financial measures. So in talking about financial measures, there are a few things. Of course, it has to do with money, but there are a few examples, things, metrics to measure. Number one, you're mentioning revenue. What is revenue? Revenue is total income generated from sales, right? That means sales must be happening. Revenue is how you make money, is the total income you generate from sales. So you want to measure how well my company is doing. What is your revenue looking like? Is your revenue growing or is your revenue decreasing month on month, year on year? Number two, profit. Of course, what is your profit? Your profit, right? That's your net sales. Your profit is your revenue excluding your cost. Now, you see, you can have a company that is making massive revenue. So revenue might have grown in a particular year, but at the end of the day, you discover profit dwindled. Why? Because the cost of the company increased for different factors. So profit is also a very important indicator of the performance of your business. As a matter of fact, seek to grow profit as much as you're seeking to grow revenue. What do I mean? Seek to ensure that you are minimizing your cost as you are maximizing your profits. That's what I'm saying, right? And so your profit is the earnings after all expenses, incidentals, costs have been deducted. That is another very powerful indicator of the performance of your business. And so you want to set a goal. You say, well, we want to make X revenue this year and want to make X profits. We want to grow our profit by X% this year. And then you work backwards to create a plan that helps you achieve that. You see, you become a lot more diligent in managing your costs. You understand that every single expense is something that would reduce your revenue, your profits. Okay? And that's what people call the bottom line. Okay? Now, cash flow is also a very important indicator of your performance as a business. That is the money that moves in and out of your company. How liquid are you as a business? That becomes very important. You are not owing people. You're not in a position where you are not able to service your debt. Right? So how well is cash flow happening in your business? And then your return on investment is also very important, right? And these are for businesses that maybe there is some equity. How well are you getting returns on your investments? Maybe I'll mention one more because I could go on and on, but I think inventory turnover is also a very important one. How well are you able as a business to replace any good that you've sold? Very important. Now, these are financial measures. Bottom line, these are the various ways to measure how well your business is doing financially. The financial health of your business is extremely important Extremely important, extremely, because the more money you have, the more money you are able to use to fulfill your vision as a business. Even if it's CSR, you want to invest in, you want to do something good in the society, you need money to do it. So you need to make more money. That's what I'm saying. You need to sell more. You need to reduce your cost. You need to increase your revenue. More importantly, improve and increase your profits as a business. Now, how well you're doing there speaks a lot to the performance of your business. Now, let's talk about the second performance indicator, which is non-financial measures. Non-financial measures. This is very important. A lot of times people ignore this one. I tell you, a lot of people ignore this and just focus on the financial measures. I've told you, successful organizations that go really far, pay attention to both. They don't pay less attention to non-financial measures, right? They don't pay less attention to non-financial measures. They pay attention to both financial measures as well as non-financial measures. So let's talk about non-financial measures for a while. Of course, these are metrics that are a lot of times they are not monetary, but they impact the monetary value of your company. I give you an example. Customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction. How satisfied your customers are. Now, businesses that focus on how happy their customers are with their products and services tend to retain their customers. And this has a direct impact on your profitability as a business. Because if you're losing customers, then you're in for some problems in the future. Now, organizations that are wise and smart, they concentrate on ensuring their customers are happy. They understand that this non-financial measure is a very critical indicator of how well their business is doing. So, what do? They are deliberate in measuring it. Maybe a quick survey to measure how happy the customers were. If there are issues, why do those issues exist? And if those issues are persistent, why? They want to find out. They want to do something about it because they want to consistently keep their customers happy. Because happy customer, happy business. Happy business, more profitable business it becomes. What I've discovered is that a lot of times people do not really pay attention to how satisfied their customers are. They don't. I know the sad part. The sad part is lots of customers will leave you without even telling you why. So you must be very diligent in, what you call customer service, customer experience. I recorded a whole episode on what I'm talking to you about. So you can look for it on our YouTube channel, The Life Limited. You can look for it. I spoke specifically about how to get customers, how to retain customers, what to do, and all of that. But customer satisfaction is a very important non-financial measure that you should not ignore. The second would be employee engagement. So, you have two types of customers. We have the external customers, right? And we have internal customers. Your internal customers are your employees. How happy are your employees? I see lots of businesses, they treat their employees badly, they pay them rather peanuts, right? And they treat them very poorly because as long as they are making money, they do not care. Trust me, it's only a matter of time. That business is coming down. Businesses that invest in the well-being of their employees, ensuring their employees are engaged. And you know what I mean by engaged? Their employees are committed. They are very excited. In the HR field, we call it where employees using what we call discretionary efforts to get things done on behalf of the company. Employees have taken ownership of their job and they act in the best interest of the organization consistently. And you can simply run an employee engagement survey, right? And that would show you the level of engagement your employees. And you're asking very interesting questions. Would the employees recommend anyone to come and work in their company? Lots of people are working in companies today that they will never recommend anybody to come there. They are there because they feel stuck and they are looking for the next opportunity. The moment they get the next opportunity, they are gone. And trust me, it doesn't have to be a large company or a small. See, regardless of the size of the company, right, you can make up your mind that you're going to make your organization the best place to work, where people feel excited, people feel that freedom to be themselves, people can take ownership. People are committed. They feel they are making progress in their personal lives. They feel the purpose that they have as individuals are in perfect alignment with the purpose of the organization. Employee engagement is a powerful non-financial measure that you need to look at. Okay. Another very important, another important indicator of business performance from a non-financial perspective is your brand equity or the brand preference. How well do people, celebrate your brand as a business? This, how well do people like your brand? Customers, would they choose your brand over a competitor? How many times would they do that consistently when they have a choice? That's something very, very important. I mean, many years ago, I was having a conversation with someone, and the conversation was basically about the Coca-Cola company, right? And we're asking, with how much money the Coca-Cola company has made, with how well known, the Coca-Cola brand is, why is it that the Coca-Cola companies keep spending money on advertising, on, branding, on all of that? Why? Because they want their brand to be top of mind for individuals. People should never forget their brand. So that's powerful branding. Because, see, how well do you invest in marketing? Getting people to know your brand, getting people to associate your brand with what you want them to associate your brand with quality service, with exceptional service, with great products. How well do people associate your brand with top performance, with excellence, with quality? That is brand equity. That is brand preference. So when people do have a choice, customers, when they have a choice between your brand and another brand, they will choose your brand. Why? Because they've interacted with your brand and discovered that your brand is what it says it is. So branding becomes a very important non-financial measure. The fourth, I will say, innovation. That's the ability of a company to create new products and processes, to create new. It's a non-financial measure, but trust me, that helps. It's very key, very, very key, because it speaks to a company's ability to react to the market very quickly, to react to customers' needs and demands. How well can your company do that? That is a powerful non-financial measure that impacts performance greatly. And of course, the last but not the least is the quality of a company's products and services. So I'm speaking about quality, right? What is the quality? How good is what you are dishing out to the market? You see, if you do measure all of these non-financial aspects of your business, right, and you focus on fine-tuning and ensuring that you're hiring the best, you're keeping the best, you're retaining the best employees, you are keeping them happy, you're keeping them engaged, you are servicing the needs of your external customers, you are engaging them consistently, you are understanding what their needs are, you are able to respond via innovation to changes in need, you are able to ensure that when you respond, your product and your services will be solid, the quality will be great, you're doing all of this consistently. What would happen? Your financial measures begin to get directly impacted. So you're experiencing growth in revenue, growth in profits, and you're finding the ROI, return on investments made by either you as the owner of the business or the founders or the the people who have invested in your business, the return becomes higher. And so people are seeing that your business is doing well. You see, you cannot do these things and not experience higher productivity, higher efficiency, higher effectiveness, and ultimately growth. You would experience peak performance basically if you do these things. Now, I like the way a man by the name Peter Drucker, who is a czar in management. He always says this: you can't improve what you don't measure. And I think I like it. You can't improve what you do not measure. So the gateway to improving anything is measuring it. Let's even know where we are. When I was in consulting, there was something we'd always do. We get into a company describes what their problems are. We do something we call the diagnostics. That's understanding the as-is state of the business, right? When we understand the as-is, then we are able to create what you call the to-be state of the business. We're able to help the business navigate the waters to be able to achieve what it wants to achieve. So you can't really improve what you do not measure. I want to urge you that you are consistently measuring, monitoring the performance of your business. You can't just be running a business consistently. I mean, if the indicators are telling you there's a problem, then you need to pay attention, right? From a financial and a non-financial aspect. Pay attention to these two areas, and what you would experience is greater performance, peak performance happening in your business. And you're able to make more impact in the world that we live in, and your business is able to become all that it was created to be. I'm excited you decided to join us for this November edition. Short, powerful, but something that I believe very strongly you need to pay attention to in running an effective and efficient business. So next month, I'm going to be talking to you about how to continuously improve the performance of your business. Leveraging all of the things we've been speaking about all through the year. I know that it will be very exciting, so make sure you don't miss it. Join us 1st of December 2025 for that edition, 6 p.m. West African time. I'm glad you decided to join us today. You can follow us on our YouTube channel. Just subscribe. Click on the subscribe button so that you get notifications whenever we have any recording or broadcast aired. Trust me, next year would be remarkable. We have some great plans for you. This year, we've just done a lot of teasers, right? Next year will be truly remarkable. So you want to be part of this family, the Life Limited, so that you can catch directly the things that we are churning out, and you can actually use those things to live more effectively. Remember, our vision is to enable you to become all that you were created to be, either as an individual or as a business. And that's why we exist. And we're excited to be fulfilling this role on the earth today. So you can follow us also on any of our social media platforms. You see the social media platforms all displayed on the screen. I'll see you next month. Make sure you have a lovely November. It's 11th hour, as they would say. Make sure you enjoy it as you prepare for a remarkable December 2025. It's been a beautiful year, and I know it has been a beautiful year for you in your business. If you have, great things to share with us, lessons you've learned from all our business leadership masterclasses, and it's helped transform your business, please make sure you share the note with us. You can send an email to the email address displayed on the screen, and we'll be glad to revert to you. Thank you so much for listening today, and do take care. Enjoy a beautiful month of November. Take care. Bye.